Welcome everyone to Sharing Soulful Stories. Today I'm here with Thérèse Cator. I'm so excited to have you, Thérèse. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, Jo.
Yay! And now I'm just going to let everyone know a little bit more about what you do. Thérèse is a lifelong artist, leadership coach, soul guide, and mother to an energetic toddler. She is committed, I love it. She is committed to helping women reclaim their magic and rise as leaders in the face of shadows and self-imposed societal and systemic strongholds that dissipate their brilliance. Her coaching, courses, retreats all weave her extensive training and experience in shadow work, the arts, meditation, business, and her learnings coming from a lineage of healers, intuitives, artists, and activists. I'm going to add that she recently moved from sunny California to the East Coast and absolutely loves it. And we can get your weekly liberation love letter if we sign up at your website, which I will share with everyone below this video at the end of our interview.
Thank you.
So excited to hear more about all of that. As you know, this container that we've created here is really to explore spirituality. And the first question I've opened all of these interviews with is, what does that mean to you? What does spirituality mean to you?
Yeah, first I want to say thank you for having me. And I'm so grateful for Nisha Moodley, who referred us, who connected us. So I love how that sisterhood works. So thank you.
Oh, I'm so grateful to have you.
So what does spirituality mean to me? What first comes to mind is it means that connection with yourself, with the divine, with the earth, with the community, with the world at large. So to me, spirituality is about that thread that connects us all.
I love that. What a beautiful, simple, all these definitions, I feel like, or not definitions, not the right word at all, descriptions of spirituality. I feel like I'll need to write them all out at the end. You know, which one do you like the sound of? Maybe that will guide you to the video that is meant for you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And now I would love to know, has spirituality, based on that description that you just said, I get this sense that spirituality has always been part of your life in the way that, in my opinion, it is to everyone, but we're not always aware of it. And I wonder, for you, has it always been part of your life, or has there been any trigger events or something that opened you to this path?
I think it's both. There has definitely been trigger events that made me look deeper, and it's always been a part of my life. You know, I come from my father, he was a mystic. My mom, she's a plant medicine woman. And I've always been around people who were extremely spiritual. My aunts prayed hours, and I'm saying hours daily for their entire lives. So I always felt that connection to spirit. I always knew there was something, I guess the word I'm thinking now is bigger, but something that's the macro, that holds it all, that is it's not about our ego. It's really about our heart and our souls. So I feel like I've always known that. And that's always, my family has always encouraged that part in me. But as I got older, you know, went into my teenage years, that rebellion happened, that questioning happened. Although there was moments of going back in and coming back out, I felt it was something that was separate from all the different parts of my life as I got older. So it was separate from my business. It was separate from my art. It was very separate. And I feel the journey has truly been to weave it back into every area of my life. So trigger events to that, I feel, started probably with health challenges. And I had my gallbladder taken out when I was in high school. I had surgery on my back. So those were small events, or big events that occurred that really made me think more about spirit. But I would say in the past decade or so, which is what I want to focus on, the big events was definitely my father's death. The second big triggering event was my husband and I getting profiled by the police and almost losing our lives. And the third event was the birth of my son. So those are the three things in the past decade that, I feel that I've gone deeper than I've ever gone before.
Wow. So some, definite triggers in there, but also that lovely underlying sense that there is that something bigger that's always been there. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'd love to open, if you're willing, to share more about your spirituality story. Now, how have those highs and lows, or those events you mentioned, whether they feel like highs or lows, in and of themselves, shaped the way that your journey has unfolded?
I would say first, starting with my dad passing, it was a moment of deep, deep despair and questioning everything, because it was sudden. It wasn't expected. He was too young. It was all of those things. And I couldn't believe it. I felt at that moment, however, I don't know how everyone identifies, but God, spirit, the universe had failed me. And so I definitely know that feeling of, okay, you have failed me. Like, how can you let this happen? Like, why is this happening? Everything at that time in my life, I felt everything was going so amazingly. So to have that happen, it just felt like the rug got pulled under me. So navigating that grief and letting myself feel that grief, letting myself be angry with God, with spirit, with the universe, really led me to a deeper relationship, but also the support of my dad beyond the veil. So for me, my dad, he's always with me. Actually, before I started talking to you, I saw him, in my mind's eye, he was here. So I know he's always with me. And it built this, I don't wish this on anyone, but it built this muscle, this spiritual muscle within me that I can truly overcome. The word is not overcome. I could truly face everything. That it wasn't only about me. My ancestors have my back.
Wow. I don't feel like I need to add anything to that. But what I find interesting actually is that, as you know, as you mentioned, Nisha connected the two of us, and I just did her interview earlier, and she also talked about low events in her life also sort of being the highs, in that they triggered this newfound understanding or connection or exploration that in hindsight, she can see wouldn't have happened without the pain, without that event that at the time was truly horrible, or, you know, as you say, wouldn't wish it on anybody. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. I'd love to know, because you come from such an, for me, interesting background that I admittedly don't know much about that. That sounded so magical to me when you suggested that your father was a mystic. I love that people, that just piques my curiosity in such a big way. And I would love to know, what would you say spirituality looks like in your everyday? As you did touch on weaving it through your life. I'd love you to share with us, how do you do that? How do you weave it through your life?
Well, it's interesting, because today I was writing my newsletter, and my next newsletter is about that this year celebrates 15 years of my daily meditation practice and spiritual practice. So I would say the foundation is really doing the nitty-gritty work of like showing up and sitting in that sometimes happy place, sometimes really uncomfortable place, and sometimes like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this place. So it's one, sitting every single day, taking that time to, for me, meditate, to reflect, to pray. And it's really about asking spirit, what am I to do today? What am I here to do? And that's actually from my teacher, Michael Beckwith, that he runs Agape. And one of the questions that he says is, Spirit, what am I here to do today? And there's a song all about that his wife, Ricky Beebe, sings. And from that space, taking action. I'm not going to say I'm perfect, because sometimes I'm like, I'm doing what I want to do. And that's, you know, completely okay. But I recognize when I follow Spirit's lead, it usually works out a lot better. It works out so much better.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't work out how I want it to work out, there's always some golden nugget, or more like a golden boulder at the end of that. So I weave it through actually doing the work and sitting. And then I weave it through taking pauses and asking myself that question, and also the question of, what would Spirit do? That's a question I ask. Like, what would Spirit do? Like, I have my son, and definitely parenting adds a whole other level of challenges with patience. So he, you know, being really patient. I'm really glad that I've sat for so many years, because I feel like I have a really big patience pool. But even, you know, sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, this is really trying my patience. So it's really being able to use all those tools in the moment, in relationships. When I see something on the internet that's triggering, which is pretty much every day. And when I say triggering, it's not necessarily triggering me, but things in the world that are happening that just break my heart, that I'm like, we can do better than this, you know, those kinds of things.
Yeah. Oh, I love, there's two things in there. I love, thank you for sharing that. There's sort of this devotion to that practice of stillness for those that have chosen that as a way to continually connect. And it doesn't always feel good. Like, as you said, you know, some days like, oh my God, I don't want to do this today, you know, and there, you know, there are ways people use to support themselves through that. But I love that you've shared that, because that's really, you know, that it's still a worthy practice even when you're in that space, and it can still guide you and still inform how you show up in the world by having that practice, as you said, that fills up. I love that. Fills up like your patience pool. Because I have a very trying 7-year-old, and it's just like, you did not just do that. Like, I don't know how to handle it. I love that question. What would spirit do? I'm going to use that. And so like, right, okay, what would spirit do? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for all of that. That is just
Thank you.
Gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. The last question. Oh, I feel like I'd like to talk to you forever and ask a million other questions.
Me too. I want to talk to you forever.
Yeah. The other question I have, though, is for those that are curious, that are just ready to explore a relationship or a connection with something that's bigger for themselves and see where that may lead. What advice would you have for them?
What I heard first was trust your first step. Whatever comes to you as the first step. So for some people, it might be meditating. For some people, it might be taking a pole dancing class. For it might mean gardening. Yeah. Connecting with the earth, gardening. Trust that first step. And listen. As you're doing that step, listen. Because I think, I know when I'm sitting in meditation, it's like the thoughts are going and it takes time to not have those thoughts. And so taking the time to listen. And I think when I say listen, before you can listen, I think it's important you have to empty. So if you're coming really full, and that's, I think, the beauty of specifically a meditation practice, it allows you to empty so that you can get filled up.
Gorgeous. I love that you've added that. There's someone else that described that, their way of emptying is journaling, and they just put all that brain noise on the paper so that then I can listen and I'm not full. And even people that are into movement sort of said the same thing. It allows what we're full of in our bodies to shift, to allow us to listen at a deeper level. That's just beautiful. And trust the first step. What calls you? What interests you? Where could connection exist for you? I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just as we've closed, I would really love for you to share a little bit more about what it is, the work that you do, and if people are curious to discover more, where they would go to find out more about you.
Well, I am a leadership coach. I'm also an artist, as you said. And the work that I do is really about looking at the stuff that we don't want to look at. The grief, the shame, the anger, the fear. Because what I think is that we sometimes go, I want love. I want courage. I want confidence. I want all of those things. However, the path through is wholeness. So we have to be able to be with and embrace all of our different parts. We have to be able to reclaim all of our different parts. And I think on another level, reclaiming all the parts of ourselves that we've lost because of, for some people, colonialism, if they've been affected by that, by sexism, by racism. And those are the things that we're taught we're not able to look at. We don't want to look at. So in order to truly be leaders, impact the change that we want, we have to be able to look at those things, because that's where I believe one of the ways that we can come into direct connection with our true courage, our true joy, our true connection to spirit. So that's the heart of my work. And I'm running a challenge. I don't know by the time you post this if it will still be around. It's called Reclaim Your Magic Challenge. So if someone wants to go deeper, and I'm still doing that, you're welcome to join.
Wonderful. And we will put your link to your website. Do you want to just say it for everybody so they know your website address if they're just listening or what have you and haven't got the blurb underneath it?
It's ThérèseCator.com, ThereseCator.com, and the challenge is reclaimchallenge.com.
Amazing. Oh, thank you so much for sharing all of that with me today. I have really enjoyed hearing from you, and I could just feel spirit coming through what you said. It was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe. I really, really enjoyed this. Thank you for facilitating and creating this. This is truly a beautiful space.
Thank you. Okay, I'm sure we will connect again because I'm very curious about your work as well. So, but I'll say bye for now. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you.